Hello, and welcome to the Conscious Communion podcast, where we traverse through the inner dwellings of the human experience through conversation. I'm your host, Danae. Join me as we explore the interconnection of creativity and community. Reggie Riverbear is a luminary artist, musician, producer, and ceremonialist who has dedicated her life to the art of translating the magnificence of creation into immersive gifts. From songs and stories that ignite a sense of joy, innocence, and wonder, to her ceremonies and pray-formances that call forth the remembrance of the ancient intelligence that governs the majesty of life itself. I am so honored and privileged to have Reggie in this space today. Welcome, Reggie Riverbear. Hello, sweet one. Prior to sharing this beautiful conversation with you, I felt led to cue you in on a slice of sacred transparency. I have been an admirer of Reggie's work for some time, so in my preparation, I came to my altar open to whatever wanted to come through. I had some notes, but above all else, the prayer was for God to be the guide. The next morning after our chat, I woke up feeling stuck, asking myself questions like, why didn't I ask this? Why didn't I ask that? And heard very audibly soon after, do you not trust me? With this question, I was shook. And with the question, I was also led to a deeper unveiling of more questions, more curiosities, and more of an opportunity to lean in. May this conversation be a mirror to you and your own experience as it was for me. How can you meet your own edges, letting spirit be the guide? Reggie is a way shower and a path paver. So without further ado, welcome, Reggie.
Ooh, I love it. Sounds so official.
Thank you, sweet one, for being here. I'm so honored and privileged to have you with me in this space.
Such a blessing. I'm so excited to see what we're going to dive into. And just even like the 2 little minutes before we started just feels so much heart and connection already. So yeah, thank you so much for inviting me to come into your temple.
Thank you. Yeah, I was briefly sharing with you before, but just so that people have context, last spring, I had the pleasure of hearing Reggie pray. And when I heard her pray, there was something within me, everything within me was vibrating on such a deep and soulful level. And the prayers that were just being moved through her were coming through with such resonance. And it was so clear that you were just a conduit for the divine. And so thank you. Thank you for
Thanks God.
being that. Yeah. But also it takes intention to get out of the ego.
Yeah.
And let it come through. That's a dance.
It can be. It can be. Yeah, I feel very blessed that I feel like I'm always overly aware that the music and the prayers and all the offerings have like very little to do with me. And my only input is that I get to refine my skills and I get to, expand my vocabulary and learn what there is to learn to be able to give voice to and to be of service to. But I think it's so divine. It's impossible for me to feel like, look at me, sweetheart, I did that. No, not possible.
Totally. And I know you're a nature enthusiast, so I feel like that's just the best representation that we have to look at and see these organisms, these beautiful representations that we have of all that we are.
The perfection.
We think it's the perfection.
I can't. Anything in nature, when you look at it, and I love so much that we have like Instagram, right? Because there's all the people that do like the micro photography and putting things under the microscope, and all of a sudden you see the rainbows and the corn seeds, and like we're just in a time where beyond even what we can physically see and what we can like sense in nature, which is already mind-boggling to me to begin with, but now to also have the technology to like get into the nitty-gritty and just see the majesty and the perfection. For me, like that's honestly been like such a lifesaver. I feel like human existence can get so crunchy and rocky and gnarly, and when I look at nature, which also has crunchy parts, for sure. It also has the wild and the destructive and all of it, but it all serves a purpose. And so I just find nature to be like the ultimate remembrance point of it's all by divine design. And when we can zoom out and zoom in, then we can see the beauty and the perfection in that. So yeah, I'll give thanks for nature. I mean, I guess we are nature, but yeah, the beauty.
We are. Yeah, totally. I mean, the immensity. It's just, and then to see, like you said, these wonderful things that technology gets to bring to us, even what's beneath the sea.
Yeah.
These incredible discoveries that are happening. We know what we know, but there's so much that we don't know. And what an incredible gift that is.
Oh my gosh, there's so much unknown. I mean, there's new things being discovered on the daily. And I feel like in the ocean specifically, there might still be some like major surprises waiting for us. I'm excited about it.
Same. Totally. Totally. Yeah. And I think touching on the destructive aspects of nature and all of that, I just heard you speaking and saying that you were coming out of a bit of a death cycle, and you sharing just your song medicine and this process of coming back into your voice and sharing your music medicine with the world. And I really wanted to touch on that and see really what that process has been like for you.
Yeah.
We just came out of winter. We're in spring. So
give thanks for the springtime. One of the things that I am always learning and continue to just reconnect myself to is the natural time, right? It's like literally our earth goes through seasons and we go through seasons. And it's one thing to know it conceptually and then another thing to trust it when we are in a long winter. And I feel like for me, the past 3 years, I've gone through many different iterations of grief and release and lots of death. And, you know, my natural spirit is quite joyous and free. And so I find my creativity when I'm happy. Other people find their creativity when they're grieving or when they're sad, and they write the most beautiful songs. But for some reason, that's not how I'm wired. So after having this very long winter of the heart, there was a part of me that felt like, wow, maybe it's done with the music. Like maybe I've had my fair share of it, been blessed for like almost 15 years to dance with it. And I just couldn't find it in myself anymore. And so I thought, you know what, I'll do one last hurrah. Like I'll do one immersion just to like give my thanks for this teacher that's been with me for so long and has radically changed my life. And then during the immersion, just sharing and getting to see people like illuminated with the same kind of joy that I know so well, totally restoked my fires. And it made me so happy that then the creativity came back and it just sparked this new cycle. And now we're literally physically coming into spring here, and it's so palpable in my body. I set up my altar a few weeks ago, and they gave me a visual of this beautiful tree and how she was moving through the seasons. And they were just really reminding me, like, you're in winter and like, it's okay. There's nothing wrong with you. This isn't going to last forever. It's just a season, and this too shall pass. And then surely enough, like a few weeks later, it's like, I'm starting to see the first physical like flowers come up, and they're such medicine for me. I feel like when I see a flower, I'm like, we're gonna be okay. We're gonna be okay. We've got the flower people. We got the cloud people. Like, we're good. So feeling the actual like support of the natural cycles really has been such an anchoring point for me to move through the depths of my own winter, my internal winter, or be in that like fall season of the heart where so many things are falling away and releasing and letting go, and just leaning into the trust that the sun rises after the darkest point of the night. With the clouds come the rainbows. After winter comes spring. Like, there's so many palpable reminders all around us. So for me, that's such a like beautiful thing to hold on to in the moments where life has her way with you. You know, I think no matter who we are, what you do, how strong your practice is, how deep your connection with spirit is life, and it's going to happen, and it's designed for a reason for that. So I find my comfort in the cycles. I find my comfort in leaning into natural time and coming out of, even with the grieving process, it's like, I think we allot ourselves a certain amount of time to have an emotional process. Like, okay, it's been 2 months, like, time to get back to things. And emotions don't work that way. Seasons don't work that way. They only come when they come, and they go when they go. And there's, so much wisdom in just finding the sweet spot between letting yourself fully be in winter, letting yourself fully be in spring. And then, right when you reach that little tipping point where now you're wallowing in it, it's like, okay, bringing it back to just allowing things to take their time, allowing the heart to receive what she needs to heal and to thrive and to rediscover what life looks like after a big rite of passage. And so for me, the natural world is so much a part of how I receive my comfort. I'm definitely privy to what everybody else is privy to as far as heartbreaks and death and dreams being thrown up in the air and all the things. And springtime always comes. So I'm back in spring right now. I'm very, very grateful. Yeah.
Yay, spring.
Yay, spring.
Yeah, it's honoring the rhythms.
Yeah.
It can be such a dance, right? I think going and moving in that way, I really am curious how I know that you are a prayer warrior. I know that you set up your altar, and that's such a beautiful part of how you come and you bring those rhythms to the divine. But I really wanted to just ask, what does that look like for you in coming to the altar of your life and just putting it before God and giving it to source? What does that look like for you?
Ooh, so many different ways. I think it's a good question. I feel that at the foundation of everything, me coming to my altar every day or sitting at my altar when I'm in a stressful situation or when I'm in a big rite of passage that's moving a lot of emotional energy for me. And also in the joyous moments, but just focusing on like the moments where it's a little rougher in life. For me, sitting at my altar is me saying, I trust that even if I don't understand in this moment what is transpiring or why it's transpiring, me showing up at my altar, me giving my worries back to God is saying, all right, I trust there's a higher design and a higher intelligence, and I'm willing to move through the motions. I'm willing to give it all back to spirit. I'm willing to let go of all the parts of me that think they have it figured out, that think it needs to look a certain way for it to be right. Ultimately, I don't know. There's been so many moments in my life where I'm like, this is it. And then the tower crumbles and like, that wasn't it. And just keep coming home to the only thing that I know in my heart as a truth, if anything, is that I'm here to listen. I'm here to listen because I really don't know what's going on. I do not know what's happening on this planet. I don't know what's happening in my life. All I know is that I want to listen to the whispers and the most minute instructions from my spirit team, from creation, from God, whatever you want to call it, to show up to the best of my ability for the situation, to create more beauty, to heal the parts of me that want to heal, to heal the parts of my lineage and my family that want to heal, to be of greater service to, and giving thanks for all these things that happen so that I can have a more cellular sense of relatability with everybody else who's moving through their things on the planet. And so just finding gratitude is easier for me when I'm at my altar because I look at it and I connect to source and I don't need to know. All I know is everything's perfect. I'm not maybe going to get it, but I trust that so much more than I trust my mind, than I trust my habits, than I trust my programs, than I trust my culture. It's like, I trust God over any of that. So teach me, show me, let me cry, let me laugh, give me a clue, and I'm on it.
Give me a clue. I love that. Give me a clue.
Give me a sign, guys.
And then and then just chase the curiosity. And so much of that really could be just in going outside and seeing a flower, just like you said.
Yeah. It's that
Sweet
easy.
remembrance.
You know, there's so much happening in our world, even in our own private worlds, with constantly being stimulated by unnatural things like technology. I'm grateful for technology, let it be known, but I do believe that there's a rhythm that is imposed on us, but we're natural beings. So if we can take the responsibility of knowing that our bodies are of the earth, they are natural organisms, so they need to be fed a certain natural environment for them to really thrive, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like you said, like if there's an energy coming up, go for a walk, like go sit by a tree, calm down for a moment, take a breath, listen to a bird, look at the sky, admire a cloud. Like there's so much simplicity that is such an incredible, accessible gateway for all of us to just find that moment of calm in the storm, to find the moment of stillness that brings the comfort. I really feel that when I'm out in nature. I feel like all the trees are like, "You're doing great, Reg!" Or sit up against a rock and the rock's like, "I got you, girl." So I just feel that like level of support that of course we get with our friends as well in a certain way, but there's no agenda. There's no lack of patience. There's no overtaking when you come with a humble heart. So yeah, the natural world. She's a beauty.
She really is. She really is. And what a conduit. I mean, really, just just like you said, just going and sitting with a tree, no expectations.
Yeah.
So juicy.
So pure. So pure.
Pure.
Yeah.
And I sense that spirit from you. So thank you for being that, mirror for us all. And I really just want to, where did this begin? Where did your work start? How did this all become? Because it starts somewhere, and I'm so interested in your origin story.
Ooh. Well, I think it was honestly planned pretty diligently before I even got to the planet, to be honest.
You chose it.
I chose it, and then it was orchestrated quite perfectly and divinely as it would. Both my parents are very adventurous people, and specifically my mom's family, my grandparents, everybody loves nature. So everybody loves to walk in the forest. They've passed now, bless them. But we would always like sit and look at the birds and go for a walk in the trees in the forest. And my mom always knew all the little plants in the garden. And so environmentally, I think I was very much raised in an environment with a lot of appreciation. And then spiritually, I definitely came in with like open eyeballs. So I remember quite vividly being in the house that I grew up in when I was little, and like seeing the gnomes in the gardens and the fairies and talking to the trees and having my little butterfly rescue center up in the attic where this ghost lady lived. And like, I had a very animated experience of the world, coming in, like just been like that. I always assumed everybody was like that. So never much talked about it. I think when something is your norm, especially as a kid, it's not even up for question or discussion. It just is. And so as I started getting a little bit older and started going to high school, I realized I was definitely the oddball in that sense. And I've had a very active dream time my whole life. And I remember many times having like very lucid cosmic dreams and it kind of scaring me as a kid because I had no context for it and the energies were so powerful. So I'd wake up in the middle of the night and run to my mom's bed and crawl in bed with her and just like digest everything that I couldn't place. And when I got to high school, my vision started getting very vivid and I started experiencing a lot of premonitions in the moments, but I had no idea what was happening to me. I had definitely a very supportive household and my mom's very spiritual. And, but again, I think I'd never even had the concept of asking anybody or even bringing it to the table. All I remember was praying to be normal. Like, let me just be normal. Like, I want to be like everybody else. And so I started smoking cigarettes and I started having alcohol. And before I knew it, everything went away. I was so happy I even forgot about it. So I think for about 5 years, maybe from like 16 to 2021, I just had a very like normal chapter in my life. You know, I had my boyfriend, I was living in the city, living my best life, working my little jobs, traveling, and then I made it somehow in divine orchestration. I ended up in Thailand, which was never on my map at all to go visit. But one thing led to the other, and all of a sudden, boom, I found myself in this beautiful city of Chiang Mai, which is in the north of Thailand. And being in a culture for the first time, so I grew up with in a temple, in a Vedic temple space, and my mom is a house in India, and so we had all the ceremonies at our house and lots of pujas and kirtan and singing and chanting and smudging, and my uncle lived with us who came from 25 years in Sedona where I am now, so he brought the animal medicines and the drums and the music and like kind of the native way. So I'm definitely very, very familiar with ceremonial life, and that's how I was groomed, so to say. And then when I was back in Thailand for the first time since high school, I was in a culture where everybody's praying and all the temples are alive, and a part in my spirit just remembered so deeply how happy I used to be in the temple and how happy I used to be when we go to India, or how happy I used to be in the forest. And before I knew it, something just clicked back in, and the dreams started coming back and the vision started coming back. And I was so happy, I think for the first time, like, oh, I feel like myself again, like I can breathe again. And felt maybe also more, you know, in high school, everything's so awkward. And so being in my early 20s now was like, oh, I felt more comfortable to just be myself and explore what that means. And I remember building a really big altar in my room, and about 3 years passed where everything started really coming back online, and I had a really hard time finding my community. I felt really lonely, and I remember I'd go to like spiritual places trying to like find friends, and there were so many nice people, but there wasn't anybody who was like me. Wasn't anybody who was having these like wild dreams and visitations and all sorts of shenanigans. And so I built a huge, huge, huge altar in my room, and I was like, okay, God, send me my tribe. Like, I'm gonna die of heartbreak, like if I don't find people that I can play with in this life. And then I had a dream about Hawaii, and I booked a ticket and I went, and I knew nothing and nobody, and I got thrown into the deep end by spirit and just met the most incredible, wild, free birds that were all my age, that were all living their best life, that were butt naked in nature, drinking coconuts and playing music and doing ceremony. And I just erupted with a sense of homecoming, and that was the pivotal moment for me to realize I could never go back to pretending to be any other way than what I am. And so I think I was 23 at the time, maybe 24. And I just devoted myself completely, like went back home, closed up that life, and moved into my car, which was too little to sleep in. And so I ended up living in my car and living in the forest for about 3 years with one of my best friends, Daniela. And we're just roaming around, sleeping outside, harvesting mushrooms, like oyster mushrooms off the trees and cooking them, and spending a lot of time kind of feral in a way. You know, I got rid of my phone, I got rid of my bank account, and just fully unplugged myself out of the matrix, because I had such a strong desire to remember like who I really am beyond all of this crazy culture that we grow up in. And so that was a huge part of my journey, just being in nature a lot. I spent 9 months in Mexico, living off grid by myself in a tent, sitting by the water every day, praying, listening every day, singing songs, cooking on the fire, going to bed with the sun, rising with the sun. And so having a lot of moments of magic to really come home to like, oh, this is what it feels like to be in alignment. This is what it feels like to be connected. This is what it feels like to come back to home to who we all are. I really believe that. And then, one thing leads to the other. What you're passionate about can slowly grow into something that you get to offer. And so started getting invited to come share my music in places and come to a retreat and come to a workshop. And it very quickly just all accumulated into this beautiful body of work that's now in the world. And it's ever evolving. It's ever changing. I'm so humbled by how much guidance there is. I really feel like I trust spirit so much. I trust the universe so much that even having like a decade with absolutely no money in my pocket whatsoever, getting to experience how taken care we are of beyond what we know means safety, what we know means security. So sitting in my bed one day and feeling like, wow, I have zero money for food. Let me go for a walk. And I go for a walk and I meet a super nice lady and she's like, oh my gosh, I heard your music. Do you want to come in for a meal? Thank you. I mean, just one thing after the next to always have those moments of when you're empty handed, you're open to receive. And so in having nothing physically for so long, I got to receive so much understanding of what it means to live in right relation with spirit. And then I changed my prayers and it was like, okay, I feel like I've integrated that part. Like I'm ready to come play again with the people. I'm ready to go share in a different way. So hook me up. Like I'm ready to go. And, then money started coming back in my life and more stability started coming back in my life. And I was able to lean into that to start building and to start growing in a different way. But never, ever, ever, ever can I lose sight of why I do feel so blessed and why I do get so many blessings. And, if it has so many people my whole life say, oh, you're just lucky. Oh, you're always so lucky. Like, oh, it's just Reggie medicine. Like, you're special. You're lucky. I am lucky, but we're all lucky. It's only a matter of leaning in when you don't feel it. It's a matter of saying, okay, I don't know. Show me. Like, I'm willing to go to the edge again and again and again and again and again and again and be on my knees over and over and over to eradicate the part of myself that feels that I'm separate from God, because I'm not. And if I am one, then everything I need is here. And I don't need that much. I can want a lot. So, sometimes I challenge myself. I'm like, okay, let's try it out. Let's see if we can manifest a shitload of money, because that's an edge for me. So I want to see if I can do it. And then I can, because I trust. And then, okay, I don't need that anymore. Thank you so much. I know I can do it. What do I need? I need a comfortable home. I'm such a Cancer. I want to have people that I can work with that I fully resonate with, that I love, that inspire me in return. I want to be of service. I want to be a good friend. I want to be a good family member. And I want to open myself up to sharing that magic is everywhere. Spirit is everywhere. It's available to everyone. It's just a radio station. So how can we tune our little bodies and our little vessels and our little beings to attune, to listen and to hear, and then we get to dance to that. It's the best. So that's a little bit of the becoming story, short version of a long journey.
Wow. What a beautiful story.
Thank you.
Such a return to the organic technology that's been with us since we were stardust.
Mm-hmm.
It's really just that you were open-handed, open-handed. And that seems to be just how you walk in this life. Thank you for showing how it can be done on such that's a deep and profound level. To not have a bank account, living off grid, that's a deep trust. Right?
Nice though. Yeah, I think
beautiful. It's beautiful.
I think for some people might be more of an edge than it was for me, quite honestly. I think I've, was raised in a humble environment and yeah, again, I don't even know if it was that much of a conscious choice other than just really feeling like I want to know what it feels like to be raw, unfiltered, unedited human being. I want to know what that feels like. I want to know what it feels like to sleep in the forest for the first time and be scared. And then the second night, not so scared. And then after 2 months, thinking I could never ever possibly sleep in walls again. You know, like in every little step of meeting that fear edge, I think for me, the sweet spot is always where it kind of scares the shit out of you, but it excites you in equal amounts. And that's kind of like where I know I need to lean into. So stepping out of the system in that way for me was really more of it wasn't a really like anti the system at all. It was just I want to be energetically sovereign, and I want to know what that feels like to only have to show up for spirit, to only have to show up for God. I don't want to answer to anybody right now. I don't want to answer to a bank. I don't want to answer to bills. I don't want to answer to any system that's in place that kind of gets me out of my organic rhythm. And so I know that a lot of people can, when they hear that, feel like that's not possible for them and is not necessary for everybody else. But I do really believe in the power of sovereignty, and I believe in the power of having a new neutral and then building up from that place, right? Now I'm doing my taxes and I'm doing all that kind of stuff. And I only got a phone number like 2 weeks ago, I'll be honest. I just did it. I'm almost 35. I just went back in. So yeah, for me, it felt important to know what it feels like to be untethered, you know, to be free. And then I can choose what I re-implement from a place of sovereignty, from a place of choice. And that feels very empowering to me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That to me that's the power of the essence of all that we are. It's coming back to that return on the most, I mean, that's integrity at its finest, in my opinion. I look at that, I hear that story. That's just trusting God with all that you are, because it's against all of the programs that we've taught we had to follow.
Yeah.
That we don't have to follow them. We can play and figure out what works best for us, and really just having that open-handed posture to see where spirit wants to lead us.
Yeah, totally.
That's the dance. But for you to have walked in that way for so long, and then to really just see the manifestation of all that wanted to come through after. Wow. What a testament to all that Source can provide us.
It's a wild thing. Yeah, it's so beautiful. I think I'm so aware that, I can have dreams and visions and all these kind of things, but at the end of the day, I don't know anything. But I've said it multiple times now, but I really believe in that there's, for every single person on this planet, for every organism, for every little molecule in the cosmos, there is a divine blueprint and a design and a purpose. And so it's a fun game for me to like unplug myself and see like, okay, if I'm fully available for my highest expression, if I'm fully available for what spirit has decided for me, not my parents, not my culture, not my own brain, not my own desires. If I make myself available, it's gotta be epic. Because there's no way that the same energy that created Sedona, one of the most epic places on the planet, is gonna create me and go, well, I don't know, let her work at a gas station. She's fine. We need the people at the gas station, bless you. That's not a judgment. I'm just saying, for me, like, it's an epic adventure to surrender and to see, oh my sweet heavens, I've had a life of epic adventures that I could have never, ever, ever planned out, even with my wildest imagination. So it makes it worth it.
Letting the creator do the work for you. It's like, perfect.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. It's just getting out of our own way and just letting God be the guide. It's so simple, yet we make it profound. We make it complicated.
Yeah, totally. It's
Nice.
just a lot of not doing ultimately, you know? It's like even in spirituality and this whole world that we live in, it's like there's endless workshops and things, and give thanks because we need all the tools we can get in a time like this. And it's still so easy to get in the trap of like doing and learning and never just stopping to be, never just stopping to listen, never just stopping to slow down and feel, what does my body want right now? What does my body need right now in this moment? Maybe I need to take a nap. Maybe I need to take a hike. Maybe I got to punch a bag. I mean, whatever your desire is. Yeah, I'm putting my money on listening in this lifetime for sure. Yeah.
That's medicine for me. I have a tendency to chase the learning. Teach me more. And it's like, Danae, you need to just sit. Even in coming to the altar every morning and saying my prayers, there's a tendency to make it more complicated than it needs to be. So it's really been a dance to come back to that childlike wonder, because I used to do it when I was a little girl and it was so free, you know? And so that's such a beautiful invitation for us all, isn't it?
For me, simplicity is at the root of everything. You know, even when we look at nature, it's like everything is as complicated as humanly possible. Like photosynthesis, like I don't even know what's happening. So incredible, so amazing, so out of my, you know, like, oh my gosh, if we were only plants, how beautiful. But at the end of the day, it's simple. You know, it's sun, it's water, it's light, it's earth, it's soil. So, you know, working with the altar and working with the elements, it's kind of in that same vein, you know, it brings everything down to like the purest form of creation and say, okay, when all form is broken down, it's made up of these four elements. How beautiful. But then within those elements, there's an endless school of learning. There's so much from one single thing. Or think about fire. I mean, fire in its own is simplicity. You can just sit with a fire. Then when you think about all the things that fire represents, makes, creates, destroys, instigates, like it's endless, it's endless, it's endless, it's endless. So, you know, we're in that divine paradox. It is both. It is all the doing and all the learning and soaking it up like a biscuit and following the passion and like getting excited and diving all in. And also on the other hand, it's being, it's unwinding, it's unplugging, it's listening, it's slowing down. And, you know, again, like at the beginning of our conversation, it's the rhythms. There's going to be moments to like study and geek out and like absorb all the books you possibly can and listen to all the podcasts you could possibly fit in a day and, you know, learn all the things and get inspired. And then the out breath comes and it's integration time and it's learning what that now, all that information, what does that actually mean for me? Making it from a concept into an experience and giving yourself time and space to experience what you just learned. How do you now become that wisdom? Because if we're just all the time putting new stuff in, it's amazing. But then where's the time to grow? Where's the time to become? Ultimately, I think that's the whole point of all of that. It's like if we just know it conceptually, it's great, and we can like have a conversation about it and be mentally very intelligent and, you know, come off as very learned. But if we don't know how to walk the talk, meh, not as valuable. Meh. Like, totally. Looks cute, but at the end of the day, you know, you can read 800 books on how to be a better partner in a relationship, but if you never practice it, what are you going to do? You know, you're wasting your time, basically. So, ebb and flow. Yes, learn. Like, let's get into the tools. Let's all get as educated as we possibly can about dealing with our traumas, about how to be a good person in relationship, about taking care of our bodies, about how to tend to things that are outside of ourselves. And then let's give some space for, okay, I gotta practice. let me go have that awkward conversation and try my new skills that I learned from the book that I love. Let me go sit at my altar and let me understand that even if I know the practical things, it takes a minute to cultivate energy. It takes a minute to cultivate relation. It takes a minute to cultivate understanding. So it gets to dance, right? Like you said, it's a dance. It really is. It's like the learning and the integration. Learning, integration, they're invaluable and inseparable, I think.
Yeah. And it's the and. It's and. And also.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're even just talking about it being a dance, and it makes me think of your music, Medicine. And I would love for you to just share a little bit about what that journey has been like and how that has stewarded you into this beautiful embodiment of all that you are and using it as medicine for your own divine spirit, and your own becoming.
Thank you. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
the music. Where to begin? Love of my life, for sure. Together with dancing and nature and all the things, but music, oh man, I learned so much from music. I learned so much from music. Music came in my life very unexpectedly. I very vividly remember being in Malaysia. I was at a job working, and all of the women who were working with me were all going to the beach to sing. And I was like, nah, I'd rather go paint in my room. I think I was working on a project, and there was nothing in me that was like, let me go sing. It just like never ever registered as a joy or even something that I could do. So fast forward 2 weeks later, found myself in Thailand, and I met this guy, and I saw him play music in a little bar, and I had a little like heart melt moment, and I realized that I had seen him in a vision when I was about 11 or 12 years old. I remember it was like just in high school, and I had a profound vision of this like Native American looking storyteller, musician soul. And I'm in Thailand in a little bar. My brother's calling me to come out and have a drink with him. And I'm like complaining, I don't want to go. I'm tired. He's like, I just got here. Why didn't you come? Anyways, long story short, I end up going.